And with that, let's get started. And again, thank you all for joining our webinar today for about irrigation decisions made simple with Manna Irrigation and Pessl instruments. My name is Hovav Lapidot. I'm the Director of Marketing and Sales for Manna Irrigation. And with me today, Mario Hoffler and Davide Tabarelli, both from Pessl Instruments. And the topics that we're going to try and cover today in 45 minutes. First of all, irrigation intelligence, what is it, and an introduction to Manna. Then METOS, the weather data solutions that most of you probably know, and try to help you understand how we better together or how this partnership or integration can help you, and we'll leave time for questions at the end of it. So without further ado, we'll start with the Manna irrigation part. Manna is a software company in the ag tech industry. We provide a sensor-free irrigation intelligence software solution. What is irrigation intelligence? You probably ask yourself. So it addresses a certain problem. What is this problem? The problem is to find the optimal irrigation schedule in order to get best water use efficiency. Water use efficiency is the ratio between yield and water you invest in your crop, or return on water. This is the question of irrigation schedule. When and how much to irrigate. On one side, we all know that under irrigation is not good because stressed plants that do not get enough water will not develop properly and will probably not produce the optimal yield. On the other hand, over-irrigation is also not good. It harms the plants or the roots. It can wash away the nutrients away from the root zone. Plants that are over-irrigated tend to develop more vegetation, more vegetative parts other than reproduction parts, so less flower and fruits, and this is actually what we're looking for. And at the end of the day, it will cost you more in energy and water costs. So right there in the middle, there's this sneaky optimum, and it is really, really hard to find this optimum that is true to my field, my crop, every day, during the entire season. There are a few ways to do it, a few ways of irrigation scheduling available in the market. The first and maybe most popular in the world is still based on tradition or intuition. I will irrigate the same as my father did, the same as my neighbor does, or just by scouting on my fields. While this is very popular, we all know that it may not be as scientific as can be, and there's much room for optimization there. Then there are irrigation protocols or manuals. These are articles or papers, tables published by the FAO or local research organizations. These are theoretical instructions or manuals, but they are not specific to my field, to the conditions of my crop on a day in and day out. And in most cases, they are based on outdated information, based on some trials or experiments done a few years ago. Then came the soil and plant sensors. These are, there are many different technologies and solutions to sense the conditions either in the soil or of the plants. While these are, some of them are more advanced than others, but they may not be a good fit for everyone. Many growers report problems, logistical problems in making them work, technical problems of installations and maintenance, and damage done to the equipment by animals, by tractors, by people. So they're really, it's not easy to make them work. Even if you make them work, they will report on a single point in the field, which may not be representative of the conditions in the entire field. And therefore, what we Manna chose to do is to look at the entire field and use remote sensing in order to provide hardware-free recommendations to the whole field. And this is what we call the irrigation intelligence. So that's Manna. In a short sentence, we provide daily irrigation recommendations or irrigation scheduling and crop monitoring images or maps in order to improve your water use efficiency. Since there's no hardware, then it's easy to set up and easy to use. And it provides the optimal irrigation schedule decision. And I'm going to try and explain to you and show you in live how it works. The value of using the Manna approach or the Manna solution, first of all, as we mentioned, the optimal irrigation schedule will improve your water use efficiency, and it will help growers save costs on energy and water, but also to increase the yield or the return on water. The remote crop monitoring allows growers to quickly identify and respond to issues in production area. It can detect crop developmental issues and then allow you to respond to them and save potential yield loss and save costs on scouting and on labor. And it is all provided in operationally cost-effective way. As mentioned, no hardware, no setup. It is a subscription model, so there's no equipment to buy and maintain, no capital investment, and no maintenance costs. How it works. So it's kind of it sounds like magic. How can you recommend on irrigation on a daily basis without touching the field? So at the core of the Manna technology, there's the ability on the left-hand side to measure the crop water usage, or in other words, the crop evapotranspiration, meaning how much water the crop uses on a daily basis for every part, every pixel of the field, and for the entire field. In order to do that, and I'll explain a little bit further in the next slide how it works, the software uses satellite imagery to measure the density of vegetation or the crop conditions, as well as weather data taken either from a weather service, a global weather service, or using technologies like METOS and the FieldClimate, and we'll touch on that more. Once we measure this actual crop water usage, the system or the Manna software applies a daily soil water content model in which the plus or income of water is from irrigation events and from rain events, and the minus or the outcome of water is the crop evapotranspiration. This holds the daily soil water content balance, and the next step will be to make the actual concrete irrigation recommendations, taking into account all the other factors of the irrigation decisions like irrigation system specifications, water availability and water quality, and the soil parameters like soil type and salinity, as well as the crop factors like the phenology stages or part of the season, and etc. So the bottom line is a actionable or ready to use irrigation recommendation. I do want to share with you maybe a little more under the hood how we determine crop water usage, and in order to do that, we need to go back to the evapotranspiration paradigm. So what you see now is the popular and well-accepted FAO practice for, or Panman-Monteith practice for evapotranspiration. The formula calls for two factors. The first one on the left, daily reference ET, or ETO, or ET0. And the source for it could be any weather service or weather source that can provide this parameter. Second parameter, as mentioned, is taken either from the FAO or local protocols, and that is the crop coefficient. Crop coefficient is the crop factor that needs to be used in this formula. Together, they provide an estimated or calculated crop water demand or crop water usage, usually calculated daily or accumulated weekly. And there's the practice of replenish the water loss back to the crop. In Manna, we took this approach to a new level, or used it as a starting point to do it maybe better. The source for ETO is either a global hyperlocal weather service that is embedded in Manna, or now, thanks to this integration or partnership with Pessl, can be taken from your own weather equipment or weather stations as integrated or as shown in the FieldClimate platform. So that's the first part. The second part is where Manna really is the kind of the secret sauce of Manna. The solution observes the actual crop coefficient. In order to do that, the proprietary algorithms of Manna use satellite data in order to measure the vegetation. Vegetation correlates directly to the crop coefficient and to the water demand. Basically, more leaves you have, the more water demand or the more water loss will be, as well as the agronomic models that are needed in order to make those calculations. As mentioned now, the next two steps are to use the soil water content balance or model, and from there, the irrigation recommendations. Again, the two interaction or integration points between Manna and the METOS platform will be to get the reference ET and the rain actual data through to your field to this platform, and therefore, as we all know, better weather data equals better irrigation decisions. Just one more slide or a couple more, and then we'll take a look at the actual software. This is just an illustration of how satellite imagery can be used to measure the water demand. We use spectral indices. One of them is NDVI, which I believe most of you know. NDVI represents the density of vegetation. So in this map, the yellow and red areas will represent thinner or less developed vegetation, corn in this example, and therefore lower water demand. The light green will show mid-level of vegetation and therefore water demand, and the dark green, very vigorous developed corn and therefore higher water demand. And the point is to do it for every pixel, every part of the field, and get to the most representative water demand or water usage number for the entire field. This new approach was and has been and still being tested in live commercial fields in many different places in the world and over many different crops. Some of the results you see here. We measure water use efficiency, and happily we see good results of improvement in water use efficiency compared to other practices. So the return on water is the parameter that we're looking to improve. With that, I want to quickly switch over to the actual software. What you're going to see is a live demo. As I mentioned, Manna is an online service, a subscription-based or software as a service, can be accessed using a web browser and an internet connection, or your mobile, or using your smartphone using mobile apps. I'm going to show you today the web interface. So the first thing when you log in is you get into this farm page in which you see the weather conditions for today. as well as this selector here for the weather source. We're going to go back to it in a second. So weather conditions, as well as the different blocks that are monitored in Manna in this farm. One of them is an orange, citrus orange plantation here, and the other one is pivot, irrigating potato field. Let's select one of them, or the pivot field, and we'll see the field level information provided by Manna. Again, this information is available on your smartphone for day-to-day usage. The first and most important information is the irrigation scheduling page. This field is irrigated by pivot, divided into two different sectors or zones. And we'll see why in a second, but you can treat the whole unit as one irrigation unit, or divide it as like pizza slices as much as you want, and you're going to get a recommendation for every zone. In this case, we see zone 1 is slightly lower in soil water content. Starting from here, from the left, the software will show you the previous irrigation, and the most important number or section here is your next irrigation, date and amount, okay, as well as the indication for the soil water content. If I want to see more, I'm going to expand here, and this full scheduler will show me the irrigation events, days and amounts. It will show rain events. There are no forecasted or observed rain events in this example, but if there were, they would show here. And the bars represent the soil water content. 100% is field capacity, and the lower point is wilting point. Again, terminology of the commonly used FAO 56 practice. So you can visually see how irrigation fills up the profile to full field capacity, and then as time goes by, the field is getting drier, and another irrigation is needed. For every day, if you see this pop-up, more data is being presented, climate or weather data, temperatures, and the daily reference ET, as well as the observed and calculated, or observed and protocol-based crop coefficient. As I mentioned, if we connect to the FieldClimate platform, then this data, the reference ET and the rain, will be taken locally from the location of the field, which will make it very, very powerful and accurate. There's 2 weeks ahead planner or schedule, and you can look back at the entire season, the irrigation and rain events. You can manually update either irrigations or rain events in order to perfect the data, but it is not mandatory for the model to work properly. There's much more to this screen, but for the sake of time, I just want to show you one more thing and then hand it over back to Davide. This section is the crop monitoring that I mentioned in my presentation. And again, for the sake of time, I'm just going to show you two things. These are actual satellite images. The last one taken, 2 days ago. And they show two different things. One is the vegetation variability, the different levels or density of the vegetation true to this day. And you can see here two spots with yellow kind of points. That means that there's something going on in these areas, maybe soil, maybe some kind of a disease, maybe irrigation related, but it calls for attention. The left-hand side is a different index and a different map that represents the variability or the differences in the plant wetness or plant water potential. Dark blue, meaning the potatoes here have more water in them than in these areas. You can guess that the pivot is kind of irrigating here at this moment. And this can be used for for detection of any irrigation related issues, irrigation distribution problems, maybe even problems in nozzles or sprinklers of the pivot, or sometimes leakages or blockages in drip infrastructure, etc. The frequency of new images is every 2 or 3 days. You get a new image, and you can look back up to 3 years worth of data. That's my part. Just to let you know that you can try this service for free for a trial. You just need to log into or to find our website. And if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us. And with that, I want to hand it over to Davide to share his screen and his information for today.
Thank you very much, Ova, for the nice presentation. I will try to do the same. So, can you see my screen well?
It's coming, yes, now it's good. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm Davide Tabarelli, Product Manager for Hardware and Agro-Meteorology in Pessl Instrument. And in this presentation, I will explain you how we integrate our products into Manna software. So Pessl Instrument has been involved in innovation and field solutions for the last 36 years. We work with many interface partners, as you can see. We work with software, with telco, with hardware sensor partners, but also with input industry partners and also other member of alliances. We work on holistic solutions for precision agriculture. We do everything for virtual station, localized weather monitoring and forecast, soil moisture and monitoring, remote field and insect monitoring. We do crop health management and decision support in terms of disease models, frost and stress warning, nutrition, soil management, work tracking and workforce management, storage and tank monitoring, topsoil mapping, satellite monitoring, and smart IoT bulbs. We want to have a connected field. The idea is to have less risk into the field and with a higher return of investments. For doing this, we use actionable tools during the season, and we want to have more efficiency on all the main operations like seeding, field accessibility, spray weather, workforce management, irrigation, real-time alerts, and react on time, with the result to have a better management, optimized input, risk reduction with a higher ROI. We use different type of connectivities. We work with 2G, 3G, 4G, LTE, Wi-Fi, but also the new type of connectivities, which are LoRa and BIoT, which are low power wide area network. Okay, sorry for the interruption. So LoRa and BIoT, I was saying that are LP1, so low power connectivity. So they use very little power to transmit a small package of data. This is a scan with the hardware and connectivity technology. So our stations, the METOS 3.3 and Echo D3, they communicate through GSM with a SIM card. Then we have METOS radio nodes. Then we have METOS Wi-Fi, and we have the new products, Lorraine, LoRa TH, MicroMetos Clima, and MicroMetos Soy. And all these stations are measuring data and are transmitting the data to the cloud, to the platform FieldClimate. Here I represent.
We don't see your slides anymore. If you can share your screen again.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, sorry.
Now it's working.
So this is the line of products that we can cover: irrigation management and evapotranspiration. We have a line with Lorraine soil, where we can connect sensors to measure air temperature, relative humidity, rain, and soil moisture sensors. We have a wide range of soil moisture sensors also that you can connect to the stations. But in this presentation, I will focus more on evapotranspiration, as it is interested for Manna. And we will talk about MicroMetos Clima and MicroMetos and eMetos 300 USW. On these two devices, MicroMetos Clima is working with low power network, which is NB-IoT and LoRa. And eMetos 300 works with a SIM card, and it has all the main sensors like air temperature, relative humidity, rainfall, ultrasonic wind speed, and direction. Therefore, we can calculate in a proper way the evapotranspiration. All the data are sent to the platform FieldClimate. It's active since 2005. We have a web version, and we have also a mobile app version, which we launched last year. But also very important, we have an open API where, for example, Manna is using our FieldClimate API to retrieve data of air temperature, humidity, rain, solar global radiation, and wind speed. How we can help? So Pessl Instrument does hardware. So we produce in our headquarters sensors, weather stations, data loggers. We do software, mobile app. We do services. So this is models, site-specific on your station. Site-specific also weather forecast, which is corrected with measured data, and solutions for each type of crop. You can also visit our website, which is www.metos.it, where you can find all the information. So
excuse me, just 1 second, sorry. Can you click the hide on this little pop-up that you have at the bottom of your presentation? Yeah, sure. Yes, thank you. Go ahead.
So let's talk about microclimate monitoring. I present here a very basic and simple solution, which is LoRa TH and MicroMetos Clima. These two devices can measure the air temperature in a very accurate way, as air temperature is the most important factor for plant growth and development. With air temperature, we can calculate the growing degree days, and we can provide information how rapidly the season is progressing, and to make comparison with other years in the past. The growing degree day calculator is showed here in our platform FieldClimate. So you have just to select the source of data, the starting date and ending date, the minimum base temperature threshold and the upper threshold, and then automatically we will display the calculation of the growing degree days. Therefore, our more advanced solution is Lorraine and MicroMetos Clima. They are very cost effective, and you can monitor the most important environmental parameters. So we know that weather conditions can vary over short distances, especially for measurements like rainfall. So it's very important on your field to measure the microclimate, and we can also calculate on our software vapor pressure deficit, VPD, dew point, and delta T, which is very useful for spraying applications. In our platform, we can have also in our dashboard a map view with all your station in the count, with the last date of all the sensors that are on the stations. Can be temperature, can be rain in this example. But you can also customize the widget. An example on the bottom, it's the station list with the last status of the battery, rain of the last 7 days, and on the last 24 hours, and the date of the last communication. Here is how we show in our platform FieldClimate. You can select the time resolution, raw, hourly, daily, or monthly, but you can also export to an Excel or to export to a PNG image. But we can also offer multiple conversions, unit, imperial, or metric. The good point to have also weather stations is that we can offer the best forecast ever possible. So with artificial intelligence, we can optimally combine or select the best forecast model. We use MetoBlue, which is our partner, Swiss partner, at any particular location, but we need a training period with station weather measurement data. We post-process the output from the numerical weather forecast model using the actual weather measurements on the stations. So on FieldClimate, we will offer a site-specific weather forecast, which is the result of METOS station plus MetoBlue weather model. In this way, the weather forecast coming from the model will be corrected with measured data. We display it in our web FieldClimate, but also on the mobile application. Forecast for the next 7 days and 14 days on an hourly basis for the main meteorological parameters, also daily evapotranspiration, wind speed, wind direction, cloud cover, air temperature, relative humidity, rain, so all the parameters. We offer also a section, a page for work planning. It is real-time updated, and it is color-coded. So we show in green what the suitable period, and in red, the unsuitable periods. This is to optimize the operation in the field. So we have window for fertilizing. So the best period, for example, to spread your fertilizer. For field accessibility, tillability, sowing window, we have the best moment to sow your seed or to go for spraying, combining multiple parameters together. Value proposition is less risk and a more efficient management. Let's talk about irrigation management. So Pessl instrument is offering a wide range of sensors. So soil moisture sensor, we measure directly the plant conditions and atmosphere. Then the data is interpreted on our platform FieldClimate. And then comes the action where Manna plays an important role and tells us when and how much to irrigate. And then comes the automation. Our solution for evapotranspiration is the MicroMetos ET0. In this way, we can calculate the reference evapotranspiration in a very accurate way. We use the formula Penman-Monteith, FO56, and it's a daily calculation. We measure every 5 minutes solar radiation, air temperature, relative humidity, wind speed, and rain gauge. So we need these sensors for a proper and very precise calculation of evapotranspiration. In fact, it's very important to have sensors and not, it's important to have physical sensors to have a correct value of evapotranspiration. And in this way, you can manage better the water and your irrigation. So for evapotranspiration, you will need 4 sensors, and the rain gauge, it is needed for the water balance. So here it's reported the formula of the reference evapotranspiration. And on the bottom right corner, it is show how we show in our platform FieldClimate. So in orange, you have the evapotranspiration, daily evapotranspiration, daily, and then we have the soil moisture data. We have other sensors to monitor the irrigation system, like the water level, to monitor, for example, river or tank. We have the pressure switch, pipe pressure sensor. We have the water counter, pH or electrical conductivity sensors to monitor the solution. We have the dendrometer, Yara water sensors to measure the turgor, and also the leaf of canopy temperature. If you want to know more, we have also an e-learning platform where you can train yourself and get a certification. Just log in and ask your METOS representative for a license. That's all for my side. You can contact me anytime if you need more information to my email. And we are available now for more questions. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Davide. So I'll start with the questions I picked up from the chat box, and while I'm on it, Davide, you can pick some there. So regarding the Manna presentation, the first question was about clouds. How do we cope, or how clouds or other atmospheric conditions interfere with or affect the KC measurement? So clouds and sometimes other atmospheric conditions can affect spectral imaging. The way we deal with it is, well, in a few different levels. First of all, if there's a little bit of cloud or even cloud shadow on the field area, the model knows how to clean out those bad pixels and will not use them in order to calculate the recommendations. So there's no bad data going in. If the the area is very cloudy, then the next thing we do is try to increase the frequency of satellite images. So the more revisit times, or the more revisit or more images we get better chances of getting a good image. And the model itself does not need a daily image. The model itself creates the KC curve, or the plant or the crop development curve. So even if it has a good image every 7 days, it still provides good observed crop coefficient. On top of all that, having said all that, we're now developing a new technology to do everything I said, but with radar satellites, meaning satellites that don't take pictures like spectral pictures like we do in cameras, but detect the reflection of electromagnetic waves. These are radar satellites, and if this data is analyzed correctly, like the algorithm that we develop now, it can provide the vegetation and the data that the model needs in order to calculate the irrigation requirements. So radar waves go through clouds. These are cloud-piercing technologies. So very soon we will release the first version of it, and it will start with the higher crops, trees, vines, the larger crops, and then we'll develop the second version of the other crops. So very soon we will have cloud piercing or cloud agnostic solution. So that's that. And that leads to the second question someone asked about trees. So yes, definitely Manna works with many, we support about 60 different crops at the moment. A big part of them are all the nuts, almonds, walnuts, pistachios, pecans, etc. All the stone fruits, apples, citrus of all kinds, avocados, mangoes, so many different tree crops. That was the second question. There was how KC estimation being done. So the again, without getting back to the scientific explanation, but crop coefficient, or KC, correlates directly with vegetation. More vegetation, the higher KC. That's why if you take a KC protocol of corn, for example, at the beginning of the season, it will be 0.4, 0.5, and then it develops and get to maybe 0.9 or 1, or even sometimes over 1, because it grows with the plants. That's what the Manna model does, measures the vegetation, and it knows how to translate vegetation to crop coefficient. And there was the last question that I'll take, and then David, if you want to add some, about if there's no hardware, what's the point in variability, in detecting variability in the field for the irrigation recommendations or to making decisions? So a few things about hardware. Manna does not require having hardware in the field. No sensor and no weather station and no controllers or nothing. It can work in operations with zero footprint on the ground. Having said that, if you already invested in hardware like the METOS stations, that's the point why we're here today. You can connect them and get better service. The other side of it is Manna integrates with the automation, part of it, meaning irrigation controllers. So we support some of the vendors, not all of them. Talgil being included and Wisecon at the moment. So users of Manna can automate the recommendation and then read the actual as applied data from the controllers. But even without controllers, Manna provides the decision itself. It tells you how much and when to irrigate, and then you can apply it with whatever irrigation infrastructure you use. For the sake of time, I think that's it for me. Mario and David, if you want to take some questions.
David, do you have a point? Otherwise, I would have one answer.
So I can see is there a common interface for both products? So for now, not only on Manna platform, they are retrieving FieldClimate API, so the data from our METOS stations. Therefore, our data are used in Manna platform, but we don't display Manna software services in our FieldClimate.
From the difference in feature sets, so I would say FieldClimate is something else than Manna Irrigation. Manna Irrigation tries to answer the irrigation question. FieldClimate is more generic. So FieldClimate comes from the sensors, the IoTs on the field, tries to visualize it, or we visualize it, and help to interpret the data and try to feed many needs, let's say, or fulfill many needs. And from this generic perspective, let's say FieldClimate has to answer more questions or different questions, and we try to also feed irrigation controllers, but we do not come from the pure satellite point of view. We come from the sensor data, and of course there is an overlap in the feature set, but I think with the combination we presented today, you get much out of it. So you get the precision of sensors plus the general satellite approach for irrigation management from Manna. That's from my side.
Yeah, I would agree 100%, Mario. The point is, connecting to services. If you're a Manna user and you have an account with the FieldClimate, now you can connect and enjoy the integration. If you're a user of FieldClimate and you want to try Manna, now you can sign up for Manna and have leverage your investment, or make more use of your investment in the FieldClimate platform in order to get additional view or additional recommendation for irrigation. So that's the point. These are two different maybe services, but well connected and a good way of leveraging your previous investment. One more thing I think I didn't show in the demo is how to connect. It's really, really easy. It's just a few clicks. And in any case, we're going to send you an email to all of you with the recording of this seminar, as well as this video on how to connect the services and the slides. Okay, I have one last question, and then I think we're 5 minutes over time, so we'll try to let you go. But there's another question for Manna about trees and what kind of satellites and resolutions, how it works. So Manna works with 3 different constellations of satellites in order to provide the best coverage. And the best resolution is 1.5 meter per pixel, provided by Spot, a satellite provided by Airbus. And then the most frequent one is Sentinel, which is 10 by 10 meters per pixel. And we have some maybe twice a month Landsat information, which is 30 meters per pixel. But for trees, you get very good view of the variability in the field. Even if you could get a recommendation for every 10 meters, you couldn't irrigate in a different way every 10 meters. So you get a very good reading of the irrigation zone. So for crop development and for irrigation purposes, the 10 meters is more than needed and more than enough. For crop protection or crop monitoring, you can use the high resolution service of 1.5 meter, which is very insightful. Yes, and we will provide all the contact details as well. in the email. So you'll have all the information needed. Okay, Davide or Mario, anything on closing on your side?
No, thanks for joining.
I don't see any more questions to our side. So thank you very much.
So thank you very much, Mario and Davide, and thank you all for joining. Again, feel free to contact any of us with any question, and we want to wish you good health and good business in these crazy days. Stay safe, and thanks again.